fun. I'm having fun. Jack, is that fun or what? My goodness. So you pick that up, you pop that open on the side like that. And then your full future. That's how you get the exterior display, same button. Now, if you get a notification, it's also gonna pop up, of course, in this spot right here, and you can interact with it. If you're ready to sit down and immerse yourself in your phone, you do the pop open and you get the full experience. But if you're in an environment where you don't wanna be distracted, you just interact on the outside display.
Limited functionality, there's options.
There's options. And this is gonna be interesting for me to experiment with a little bit more as time goes on, how much you can use the outside instead of the inside, or if you're constantly compelled to go all the way to the larger display on the inside. This is something that I'm gonna have to experiment with over time. Big camera, that's your main camera unit on the outside of the device. Now you can use that as well as your selfie camera because you have the display here. As far as taking selfies are concerned, this is gonna be a lot more comfortable to reach out and snap like this. So this lets you use your better camera on the outside of your phone as a selfie camera. You can use it essentially for everything. When it comes to unlocking the phone, you have a fingerprint scanner in the chin portion down here. The other thing that's down there in the chin portion is this USB Type-C connector, and you can see the speaker grill over here. Also, you have two separate batteries, one in the top and the bottom, and you create this balanced feel. In terms of specifications, this thing has 6 gigs of RAM, 128 GB of storage. It has a Snapdragon 710 processor.
Are we typing?
Yeah, but I'm really close.
I have a very aggressive type.
When we share hotel rooms, she's like, you gotta stop it. I mean, it's aggressive.
But this is pretty quiet.
Yeah, this isn't bad at all. I couldn't
It's
handle
actually
that.
really quiet.
I'll allow it.
Here's our Surface Pro 7. God, I love the Surface line. They're just so cool. This is the little icy blue color.
Ice blue.
Ice blue. It's ice blue. I think icy blue is something that they should think about for next year. Look how good that looks. This is the Poppy Red. It's a nice red color. It's not too bright, but it's also a nice muted tone here. The Surface Pro 7 comes in a platinum and a matte black with a 12.3-inch display. You could choose from an i3, an i5, and an i7 processor, 4, 8, or 16 gigs of memory. Storage options are solid-state drives, 128, 256, 512, or a terabyte. You can get up to 10.5 hours of battery life. You can charge your Surface Pro 7 to 80% in just over an hour. The front-facing camera will shoot 1080p HD video with a 5-megapixel sensor. The rear-facing is an 8-megapixel sensor, and you can also shoot 1080. It has USB-A, USB-C, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. It also has a mini display port, there's a micro SD card reader, which is pretty awesome, and it's also compatible with a Surface.
Nailed the inputs, in my opinion, for something this small. Now, if you look up at the top of the screen, there is no webcam. I know that some people like that for privacy concerns, but it is just a sacrifice they had to make this all fit. I do think that they include an external webcam in the retail package when you purchase this device. I know that some other Asus laptops have done that, like they don't include a webcam on the laptop and they give you this external unit, but my kind of engineering sample did not come with them. But the screen, here's another really cool thing. Most 14-inch or 13-inch gaming laptops don't have high refresh screens. They're usually stuck at 60 Hz. This has a 120 Hz 1080p option and a 60 Hz 1440p option. That's exactly what so many people are looking for. Obviously, this isn't finalized hardware on this unit, but I do think that that screen is something a lot of people will be interested in. So other things I noticed, it has a USB-C port and it does support charging through that USB-C port. I plugged up a MacBook Pro charger to this and I was able to fill it up. So for people that are traveling and they just want to bring one charger.
There is a functional benefit. You might have heard of a neutral density filter. It's an attachment you can get for professional DSLR lenses that can restrict the amount of light that gets into the camera. Well, this tintable glass, for the first time ever, replicates this functionality on a smartphone. So when you're in pro mode, one tap on this button and all of a sudden the bright spots in your image become a little less bright. And then of course there's just the fact that it's cool. The invisible camera is a design feature in the same way that having an exciting color option is, and we've seen plenty of those in the last few years. But before I get to where I think this tech is potentially headed, I gotta say, I left this event with almost as many questions as I arrived with. For starters, this neutral density filter is nowhere near as useful on a phone as it is on a DSLR camera. One of the main use cases would be when you're taking photos in broad daylight and you want to use a lens with a wide aperture, one that lets in loads of light. A neutral density filter can restrict the amount of light and therefore prevent you overexposing your shot. But on a smartphone, A, you can't change your lens anyway, and B, your camera software can more often than not automatically correct for overexposure anyways. I won't go into too many details, but there are still some use cases, like being able to take those long exposure shots during the daytime, but they're niche. I genuinely expect
time ever. Our $500 tier has no spinning rust thanks to our 960 gig Patriot Burst SSD. All in all, it's been a great year for budget gamers. For a Hamilton more than last year, we are getting substantially more performance across the board. Now how about the mid-range, where our $1,000 Game Now build lives? Here, you start to get into 1080p AAA gaming or even light workstation capabilities. The Ryzen 5 3600 takes over CPU duties from last year's 2600, and boy, is it ever a lot faster thanks to Zen 2's performance improvements. This plucky chip, in combination with fast RAM like the 16 gigs of DDR4 3600 we're giving it, actually handles pretty much anything that you can think to throw at it, as we demonstrated in our budget 4K editing workstation video. It is seriously versatile, and we've teamed it up with a seriously versatile XFX Radeon RX 5700DD Ultra for graphics. It convincingly beats last year's fire sale 1070 Ti out of the box, and has the potential to reach much faster speeds via a BIOS flash or soft power play tables boost to enable 5700 XT-like performance. Now, if NVIDIA is more your thing, an RTX 2060 would be their equivalent, but it costs a bit more, and what it has in features, it gives up in raw performance per dollar. We went with an
part of the screen to control the volume, like it's a volume rocker. And then of course you get the feeling of that haptic motor clicking as you swipe, and you can do it wherever you want, on the top half of the left or the right side of the phone. It is really cool, and it feels like a futuristic solution to the problem, but the more times you use it, the more times it fails or takes you 2 or 3 times to activate it, and then the more you just wish you had a regular set of buttons. But the rest of this hardware is pretty excellent though. It's not too big of a phone despite the huge screen size, and it feels solid and weighty in the hand. That's Gorilla Glass 6 in case you're wondering, since screen protectors are probably not very protective on this phone. And you've got a good sized 4500 milliamp hour battery that nets you pretty great battery life. There's an optical fingerprint reader underneath the display, like I said, nice and close to the bottom, so it's easy to reach and works quickly. And you do get 40 watt wired fast charging, and also 27 watt fast wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging if you're into that. Then the speaker at the bottom, it's small and kind of easily blocked, but it does get pretty loud. And the whole phone is IP68 water resistant, and you even get an IR blaster at the top. Remember these from back in the day? You could program them to turn your TV on and off, or just troll other nearby people and turn their TVs on and off. Really about the only cons I can come up with for this phone's hardware are nitpicks. There's no headphone jack, which feels like a nitpick in 2020. Not a lot of fun.
Or fold it like a normal-sized laptop with touchscreen keys on the bottom. It is just a concept, but the fact that Intel is making it at all suggests that it expects its partners to produce similar devices, because that's what this Intel chip is designed for. Major PC companies are also presenting their own concepts. Dell has 2, one called the Concept Ori and another called the Concept Duet. Ori means fold in Japanese, so that's the one with a legit folding OLED screen. It's 13 inches, so it's like having a big tablet or a tiny laptop. The Duet, as you might have guessed, just has 2 separate screens with a hinge in the middle. Dell didn't say anything about specs other than the screen resolution, so don't expect any devices like this to go on sale anytime soon. In terms of actual shipping devices, there's really only one. It's Lenovo's ThinkPad X1 Fold. It's similar to Dell's Concept Ori in size and design. It has a 13-inch screen, and it can be folded the same way. There's a magnetic keyboard that clips onto the bottom half of the screen when you fold it, and that also fills in the gap in the hinge when it's closed. The design is pretty nice, with a leather cover that slides along the back when you fold it, and it's not just a concept. Lenovo says it'll actually go on sale in the middle of the year. We even have basic specs. There's an Intel processor, 8 GB of RAM, and up to 1 TB of storage. Prices start at $2,499 though, so don't expect devices like this to be affordable for a while.
There's no doubt that Microsoft beating Sony to the punch paid off in a big way. However, they also had a slightly uncomfortable oversight. The Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death.
Ah, the red rings of doom signal that your Xbox 360 is fried. Microsoft hasn't specified the cause, but users say the console's cooling system just can't take the heat of a lot of play.
So when the hardware would fail, the power button would light up with 3 red lights, which would indicate that you have a major issue. I'm sure Jimmy will do a great job of showing off what that looks like right now. Now, this wasn't necessarily for everyone, so not all Xboxes died, but generally speaking, most of the launch 360s did not last very long. Now, I'll give Microsoft some credit. They did institute a 3-year warranty, and in large part, if you had a red-ringed Xbox 360, you could just ship it back and they would swap it out. But the problem was that the 360, I don't want to say it was rushed, but there were certainly a lot of major issues with the reliability on that first model. Now, there are a few different reasons why. Some people have speculated that it was to do with the thermal paste or maybe the solder that would kind of start to melt after a while. But regardless, that first 360, it didn't last very long. People came up with all kinds of ridiculous remedies to fix this. I know the towel trick was big for a while, and that you would turn on your 360, wrap a towel around it, and I guess the solder or something would reflow and it would work for a little bit. A lot of times the towel trick would only get your 360 to work for like 20 minutes. Like, it was just not a good solution. Even with its technical issues, the Xbox 360...
Feel free to send in extra pictures of your PC if you want. The more, the better. Sending in pictures with the PC on in a dark environment are also a plus, especially if your build has a lot of RGB. Now, before you submit your pictures, I would need proof of the specs on your PC. And the easiest way to look that up is by hitting the start menu and then typing in DXDIAG and hitting yes. Take a screenshot of this first page. It will show you the CPU, RAM, and motherboard. And then go ahead and click on the display tab up top and take a screenshot of this page as well, which will show me the GPU. After all the pictures are ready, visit WeTransfer.com and attach all your files there, and in the notes, write the following information listed on the screen. You can copy and paste the template in the description section so it's easier for you guys, but just make sure to write down PC Wars on the top so I can separate this from my Setup Wars submissions. After you submit your photos to setupwars@gmail.com, you just have to wait and see if it gets accepted. If it gets accepted, I will download them within a week and you will get a notification. If not, the link will expire for several reasons.
There's like this weird cutout on the back because there's actually a second display right underneath the rear cameras. What is this in here? A VIP card. Okay. I think that's like their warranty card. Honestly, guys, like these phones, they just showed up. I thought all of them would be bezel-less. It's taking me like a moment to realize this phone isn't bezel-less. This is pretty much like my iPhone 8 Plus here. You got some pretty thick bezels at the top. Also, this is a 5.2-inch screen, so just keep that in mind. Okay, let's just jump on into it. We got USB-C at the bottom. At least I almost forgot a headphone jack. This phone's looking pretty sweet. All right, let me turn this thing on. It's looking good. It feels good. It's made out of metal on the back. It's got a nice feel. It doesn't feel too cheap. We got a home button. That's a luxury in 2017. Looking at you, iPhone 10. I'm just learning this now. The rear display not only shows the time, I think you might have caught that, but it actually shows the camera, the viewfinder. It's right back here. You can get it. You can actually see what you want to take. And then